And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with the Game Boy Geek.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going to take a year in review look at 2013. Now this isn't my top 10, that's going to be next week. This week is sort of a honorable mention where there's going to be different categories of best of for 2013, and you may see one or two of these show up in my top 10 list, but mostly these are just the best of, so let's get started. All right, the best artwork for 2013 has got to be Yedo from Pandasaurus Games. Wow, this game is beautiful just to look at. When you unfold that board and you look at it, when you look at it from a high level, you just see this amazing, beautiful city with all these different colors in the different districts. But then when you take a closer look and you actually get down to the board level and look at the detail that's in each of these cities, you see each district actually has its own little story going on. It's just beautiful. And then the player boards and the cards and just everything about this has that Asian type art style that just looks really cool, very well done. What a beauty body of work here with Yedo from Pandasaurus Games. The best card game of the year was a game that was actually sort of a reprint and re-implementation of an old game called Balloon Cup. This is from Rio Grande Games called Pinata. This again, two-player game. It's very colorful, it's very fun. It actually takes the designer's original intent in both theme and rules and puts it into this new package. Now it is very similar to Balloon Cup, but there are some different rules that were originally intended by the designer that's in these. Now it does have variants to play with the same type of rules that's in Balloon Cup. So it's just a very fun game. If you've liked Balloon Cup, you might want to check this one out just because it's a different theme. In my opinion, it's a much more exciting theme. The colors are great, the little candies are fun. It's a great two-player card game that plays in about 30 minutes. It gives you all the fun of Balloon Cup and maybe even more, and it's a lot more colorful. In my opinion, best card game of the year, Pinata. Best party game of the year has got to be a game that plays up to 10 players. It plays in exactly 10 minutes, and it is tons of fun. Bring this game to a party, One Night Ultimate Werewolf from BZA Games, and you're bound to have a good time. It's a social deduction game similar to like the Resistance or Resistance Avalon, but it's so different that you have room for both types of games in your collection. It's a blast to play. It plays so fast, it takes 2 minutes to teach, plays 3 to 10 players, and every time you play this game, even with the same group, you get these tendencies that come up over time, and you learn how people play, but then you throw in new roles and it's all a new game again. And then when you play with new players in different groups, everything changes again. It's got a lot of replayability value, got a lot of roles, and if you like that social deduction thing and you want to see people pointing things at each other but then still laughing at the end of it, great party game, One Night Ultimate Werewolf. The best children's game is what I like to call King of Tokyo Light, or The Three Little Pigs from Yellow. It's book 1 of the Tales and Games series. It takes about, it says 20 minutes, it's maybe about accurate, 2 to 5 players, 20 minutes, ages 7 and up. It also comes with the actual book and the story of the Three Little Pigs. It's similar to King of Tokyo. You're rolling dice up to 3 times with the Yahtzee rolling mechanic. You're building these wood and straw and brick houses, and then sometimes you're rolling some wolves and blowing your friends' houses down. It's just fun. It's great for the little kids, but it's actually still fun for adults too. I got caught playing this on the way home from Gen Con with a buddy of mine, and everyone was looking at why these 2 grown men are playing with pink dice. Because the game's actually fun. Great for children, great for families. Best children game of the year, Three Little Pigs. So the best family game of the year. Ooh, when I played this game for the first time, I immediately thought and stood up and told the person next to me that this has got legs. This could easily be a Spiel des Jahres nominee or even a winner. We're taking a look at Steam Park here from 2 to 4 players from Yellow. here in the US, and this is just a blast to play. You're rolling dice really fast and frantic to try to select some actions. The first one there gets the better stuff, the last one gets, the worst stuff. And then, once you've got all your stuff, you're building these amazing rides. The components are amazing. It's just fun for little kids all the way up to the older people. It's just a blast to watch yourself build these theme parks, build these different rides, play these different bonus cards. It's really a great family game. Plays in 60 minutes or less. If you haven't checked this one out yet, Steam Park, best family game of 2013. For components of the year 2013, it's a no-brainer. The box is 7.5 pounds of thick cardboard and metal components. The board is awesome. The player mats that they give you are awesome. It comes with little tuck boxes to put all your little components and influence tokens on. The money is so thick, the thickest money I think I've ever seen. It's not paper, it's these thick cardboards that when you drop them on the table as you outbid somebody for an ante, they bounce off the table. There's some cool dice. There's some really thick blackmail tokens that look like these real huge, great thick tokens. Also, you have the capo ring, which breaks ties. You can actually wear it. It says breaks ties right in the middle. From Game Sloot, we're talking about nothing personal for components of the year. Bar none, hands down, best components I've seen. All right, the biggest surprise for me in 2013, let me tell you why this is a surprise. Number one, it's a brand new publisher that you probably haven't heard too much about. Number two, it's a first-time designer. If you put those two things together, you might not expect to have one of the better games of the year. In this case, they did. You are in a Martian colony and you're bidding to try to bribe contacts to get certain results so that you can use those things to complete missions, and you're trying to gain rep or reputation in 3 different factions where all 3 of them have different personalities and change your strategy during the game, or you can go rogue, be on your own and try to gain infamy, here from Mercury Games. It's 3 to 4 players. It's about an hour long. And this really blew not only my socks off, but everybody in our gaming group. We were just so surprised at how good this game was from a new publisher and a new designer. If you haven't checked this game out yet, ooh, tension up the wazoo, especially at the end of this game. You gotta check out this interesting Euro game. The most innovative game this year, for me, was a no-brainer. You are having a monster dropped onto buildings, watching meeples fly over the place. You're putting your chin on your monster and blowing down buildings and blowing up meeples and putting them in your stomach and knocking over your buddies by throwing tanks at them or flicking them over. In a dexterity type of game that's interesting with some special powers called Rampage from Repost Production and Asmodee here in the US. It plays up to 4 players, plays in about 45 minutes. And man, there's nothing like this that I've ever played. That dexterity element's very unique. Adding those special powers are unique. And it's just fun to watch people giggle and laugh while they play this game and cause mass destruction around the city. Now, the best reprint of 2013, when I say best reprint, what my meaning of this is the game that got reprinted that really changed the most and is still a really good game. And for that, from Victory Point Games, we're talking about Circus Train, the 2nd edition. Now, the 1st edition was just basically a 1 and 2 player game. This goes up from a 1 to 5 player game, plays in 90 minutes. They had to restructure and rechange a lot of the rules to allow it to play up to 5 players. And in fact, it plays well with all those players. You're going around, you're trying to hire different acts, whether it's clowns or acrobats or elephants, and you're trying to add these guys to your show, and you're traveling around the United States trying to put on the biggest show. Similar to, say, Coliseum from Days of Wonder, but yet it's still very different because it has some American type style things where you can try to steal talent from other players. There's different reputations. As you do things that are good, your reputation goes up. You do things bad, reputation goes down. It hurts you in the long point of the game. But overall, you're trying to put on this really large show, which is not the only way you score. It has a little bit of a grip type scoring towards the end. Very interesting mix of Euro and American, and a very good job with the reprint with allowing 5 players to play. Then we're looking at Circus Train 2nd edition from Victory Point Games. The best brain burner of the year. Wow, this is a real-time game that plays in 30 minutes exactly. You've got 2 sand timers, and you're flipping these up, and you have to wait for those timers to finish until you can complete that action. So you've got two things going on at once, but every other player, there's 3 or 4 total players in this game, all the other players are doing that also. You're offering goods to other players to come to your planet to try to collect on these goods. We're looking at Time and Space here from Stronghold Games. Whew, man, your brain will melt playing this. It seems simple that you're like, oh, just 2 actions at a time, I can handle this. At the beginning of the game, it feels really easy. Within like 3 or 4 turns in, your brain is melting. You're trying to figure out which resources should I be trying to build, because who is asking for this? Who can complete orders? And then, hey, halfway through, something can change. You might have to go change and go to somebody else's planet because they have an order that you can fulfill. And then which ones do you offer them? Oh man, it has a lot going on for such a simple game, and it plays exactly 30 minutes, and it will make your brain do flip-flops, but in a good way. Best brain burner, Time and Space. The best expansion was a tough one for me this year, but I think the one that edged out to the winner here is Pandemic in the Lab that came out around Gen Con from Z-Man Games. Wow, this took a game that was already great with Pandemic, and then if you play with the On the Brink expansion, you think, wow, the game's done, it's great, what could make this thing any better? And then they come out with In the Lab, which completely changes the way that the game is played. It almost feels like a new game again. Granted, you're still playing the same board and the same things, but there's an added board within the lab, and you're trying to characterize diseases and figure out which ones you're going to do, and it really changes the way that you get rid of and cure diseases in this game. It completely changes it. So man, this one was a blast. If you like Pandemic at all and you don't have this yet, you've got to get out there and check this out. By far the best expansion in the lab, Pandemic.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.